My beloved child, I have never loved you because you are perfect. If my love for you were built upon your achievements, no soul would be able to stand firm before me. But my love was not born from your perfection. It was born from my very nature. Long before you knew how to walk, I already knew there would be days when you would stumble. Before you ever uttered your first prayer to me, I had already seen the seasons when you would be weak, confused, weary, and sometimes led astray. Yet, my beloved child, none of those things has ever caused me to turn my face away from you. I know clearly where your heart is most vulnerable. I see the wounds you hide behind an ordinary smile. I hear the sighs that others fail to notice. There are battles taking place silently within your mind that even those closest to you do not fully understand. But I understand. As a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him, for he knows how we are formed. He remembers that we are dust. As Psalm 103:15-14 says, is not merely a beautiful Bible verse to read and pass over. It is the truth about my heart toward you. I know you are fragile. I know you were not made of stone. And precisely because I know your limits so well, I desire all the more to draw you near to me, not push you away. My beloved child, what causes your soul to slowly grow dry is not only the times you make mistakes. A soul can fall and then rise stronger when it knows how to return to me. What is dangerous, however, is when you begin to become silent before me, when you allow the distance to grow wider day by day, when you hide your spiritual coldness beneath busyness, using the noise of life to cover the emptiness within your heart. There are people who continue all their outward routines, who move through their days as usual, yet deep within their souls, the flame is growing smaller because they are no longer truly near me. I do not need you to come before me with everything perfectly cleaned up. I am not waiting for you to fix yourself before you are allowed to pray. Remember the prodigal son when he returned to his father's house. He came back in his worst condition, his clothes stained, his heart full of shame, empty-handed and broken. But the father did not stand at the door to examine whether he was worthy enough. He ran to embrace him before his confession was even finished. My beloved child, that is also how I look upon you when you return. The first thing I desire to do is not to condemn you, but to embrace your weary soul. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. As 1 John 1:9 says, is a promise I have never withdrawn. I do not close the door of heaven when your heart grows weak. It is precisely in the moments when you feel most unworthy that my mercy opens even wider. But, my child, I do not want you to continue living in avoidance. Do not hide from me simply because you feel you are not good enough. The light does not appear to shame you. The light appears to heal you. There are souls who think that if they hide the cracks within their hearts, everything will eventually be fine. But a room kept closed for too long will slowly grow suffocating for lack of light and air. In the same way, your soul cannot remain healthy if it keeps concealing its most painful places. I am not afraid of the chaos within you. I am only saddened when you choose to remain alone in it, instead of bringing it to me. Remember David after he sinned. What made him a man after God's own heart was not that he had never failed. He fell into very deep failures. But when my light shone upon him, he did not continue hiding forever. He wept, repented, and cried out, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, As Psalm 51:10 says, it was that honesty that opened the way for restoration. My beloved child, I am not searching for a soul that knows how to perform strength. I am searching for a soul that dares to be real with me. Do not let delay cover with dust the flame I have lit within you. A lamp does not go out all at once. It slowly dims when it is no longer cared for. In the same way, your soul does not grow cold in a single night. It begins with the moments when you think you will pray later, return to me later, open your heart later. Then, little by little, the silence stretches on until your heart becomes distant without you even realizing it. But, my beloved child, today I am still calling you back, not back to dry religion, but back to a living relationship with me. Draw near to God, and He will draw near to you, as James 4:8 says, is an invitation that has never been closed. I am not asking you to have all the answers. I only ask that you stop running farther away. Bring to me even the parts of yourself you are most ashamed of. Let your tears fall if they need to. Speak honestly to me about your wariness, your coldness, your doubts, and even the failures you have not yet dared to name, for where my light touches, healing begins. And then, day by day, you will begin to feel the flame within you burn brightly again. Not through the pressure of becoming perfect, but through closeness. A branch does not strain itself in order to live. It only needs to remain in the vine. In the same way, what your soul needs most deeply is not to become stronger through its own strength, but to return and remain near me. My beloved child, do not be afraid of your fragility anymore. I have known it for a very long time. But I also know this: my grace is greater than your weakness. My light is stronger than the darkness within you. And my love is powerful enough to draw you back. No matter how far you have wandered, my beloved child, I want you to understand something very deep, that many souls only realize after their hearts have become painfully dry. Nothing on this earth is powerful enough to replace my presence within you. You may fill your days with work, responsibilities, conversation, goals that must be achieved, or pleasures that temporarily distract your mind from exhaustion. You may be recognized by others, achieve the things you once longed for, and stand among successes that many people admire. But if your soul is far from me, there will always remain a silent emptiness that nothing else can truly touch. Whom have I in heaven but you? And there is none upon earth that I desire besides you. As Psalm 73:25 says, is not the cry of someone who has never known the beautiful things of life. It is the confession of a soul that has understood that every other good thing becomes fragile when it loses the true source of life. There is a place within your heart that was created for me alone. I placed it there like a sacred altar deep within your soul. And my beloved child, when that place is neglected for too long, even your outward life slowly begins to lose its freshness in ways you cannot fully explain. You may still smile, still work, still continue the familiar rhythms of life. But beneath it all, your soul will begin to grow tired in a way no amount of sleep can heal. For your body needs rest, but your soul needs my presence. Remember the Samaritan woman at the well. She had searched for fulfillment through many relationships, through hopes that repeatedly ended in disappointment, through things she thought would finally satisfy her thirst. But when I met her at the well, I said, "Whoever drinks of this water will thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst." As John 14:13-14 says, "My beloved child, That is not only the story of that woman, it is the story of many souls today, trying to fill their deepest thirst with things that can only soothe for a moment. Yet every stream this world offers will eventually run dry. I alone am the living water. I know there are days when you do intentionally drift away from me. Distance rarely begins with great rebellion. It begins very small. One morning you wake up to rush to sit quietly before me. A prayer becomes mechanical, because your mind has already been pulled somewhere else. A moment reading my word without truly pausing to listen with your heart. A time when you say, "I'll spend time with God tonight instead." Then night comes and you are tired, and you postpone it once again. My beloved child, your soul often changes direction, not because of one great storm, but because of very small deviations repeated over time. Faithfulness in little things, as Luke 16:7-10 teaches, is not only about money or earthly responsibilities. It is also a principle of the spiritual life. A garden does not die in a single day because someone forgot to water it once. But if the neglect continues, the leaves begin to wither, the soil becomes dry, and the flowers slowly lose their fragrance. In the same way, the fire within your soul does not disappear instantly. It fades little by little through small compromises you think are unimportant. And closeness with me is not built through a few intense emotional moments alone. It is built in ordinary moments when you still choose to turn your heart back toward me. My beloved child, I do not condemn you for being weak. I simply do not want you to continue living in distraction until your soul slowly grows cold without realizing it. There are people who think they are merely too busy, when in truth their hearts are gradually losing the ability to remain still in my presence. They no longer know how to stay silent long enough to hear my voice. They fill every empty space with noise, screens, thoughts, and work, and then wonder why their hearts still feel empty. Remember Mary as she sat at my feet while Martha was busy with many tasks. Martha's work was not wrong, but she allowed business to pull her heart away from what mattered most. And I said that Mary had chosen the better portion. My beloved child, what I seek from you first is not a life that accomplishes many things for me. I desire a heart that knows how to remain with me. Do not wait until your soul has withered before returning to the living water. Do not wait until darkness grows thick before seeking the light. Let the smallest moments of your day become places where you meet with me. A sincere prayer before a new day begins. A moment when you pause in the middle of life's chaos to turn your heart toward me. A verse of scripture you do not merely read with your eyes, but allow to settle deep within your soul. It is these small things that are quietly shaping the direction of your life. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. As Jeremiah 29:13 says, is a promise I still keep today. I am not hiding from you. I am not making it difficult, so that you must desperately struggle to find me. But I desire your heart to truly return, not merely a few formal minutes to fulfill a duty, but the genuine openness of a child who longs to remain close to their father. My beloved child, when you begin returning to me in those small moments, you will witness something beautiful take place. Peace will no longer be something you desperately try to search for in the middle of chaos. It will begin to take root within you. The flame that once grew dim will burn brightly again. My word will no longer feel like distant lines upon a page, but will become breath for your soul. And then you will understand that what has truly kept you alive was never the achievements or fleeting pleasures of this world. What sustains you is my presence within you. So today, my beloved child, do not underestimate the small choices anymore. A single moment of turning your heart toward me can redirect an entire day. One small habit of faithfulness can keep your soul from drifting away over many years. And every time you choose to return to me, even if only through the faintest whisper, heaven still listens like a father, rejoicing to see his child come one step closer home. My beloved child, I am not seeking from you a polished outer shell for people to admire and call faith. I do not need you to always appear strong, composed, or full of beautiful prayers before you dare come near to me. What I desire from you is a sincere heart, a soul willing to open the door, even when everything inside still feels messy. A child who does not hide from their father simply because they feel weak. For my beloved child, I have never loved you because of the spiritual image you try to maintain. I love you in your truth. There are days when you sit down to pray, and your heart feels so empty that you do not even know what to say. There are nights when all you can do is remain silent before me, because your weariness is too great. Then you begin to condemn yourself, thinking your faith is fading. But my beloved child, I hear even the sighs your lips cannot express. The Spirit helps us in our weakness, as Romans 8:26 says, is a reminder that even when you do not know how to pray as you should, heaven is not turned away from you. Do not wait until your heart is completely at peace before opening the Scriptures. Do not wait until feelings of passion return before seeking me again. It is precisely when your soul is driest that you need to remain near the living water more than ever before. I know there are souls who have locked themselves inside shame for far too long. They think they must repair themselves before they are allowed to return to me. They imagine that I stand far away, watching from a distance, waiting for them to become worthy enough before opening my arms to receive them. But my beloved child, if a little child falls down and is wounded, a good father does not stand there, waiting for the child to heal itself before embracing it. He runs toward the child first, and that is exactly the picture I want you to remember about me. Remember the father in the story of the prodigal son. While his son was still a long way off, the father saw him first. He did not wait to hear a complete explanation before opening the door. He did not force his son to kneel and prove that his repentance was deep enough. He ran to embrace him in the middle of the dusty road, clothed him with a new robe, and restored him to the place of a son again. My beloved child, I am the same. The moment your soul takes its first step back toward me, my heart is already turned toward you. The moment you whisper, "Lord, please help me," heaven has already heard. Do not let shame keep you far away any longer. Do not believe the voice that says it is too late for you to return, that you have been weak for too long, or that I no longer wish to listen. That is not my voice. My voice does not lead you into despair. My voice always opens a path back home. Whoever comes to me, I will never cast out, as John 60:37 says, is a promise I have never withdrawn. No distance is too great if your heart still desires to return. No night is so dark that my light cannot break through it. My beloved child, I also want you to understand that true faithfulness is rarely built through grand moments that everyone can see. It is formed quietly in very small things. A morning when you still open my word, even though your heart feels unsettled. A moment when you sit silently before me, even while your mind remains chaotic. A time when you choose not to let go of me, while every emotion inside you tells you to give up to the world. Such things may seem insignificant, but to me, they are deeply precious. We walk by faith, not by sight, as 2 Corinthians 5:7 says, does not apply only to life's great decisions. It is also true in the most ordinary days of your life. There will be moments when you feel nothing special while praying. There will be days when you read scripture and your heart does not immediately burst into flame. But, my beloved child, faith is not always measured by intense emotions. True faith is often revealed when you still return to me, even while your heart is weary. Remember the woman who had suffered from bleeding for 12 years. She did not come to me in strength or overflowing confidence. She came with desperation and trembling. Yet, one very small act, reaching out to touch the hem of my garment, opened the way for healing power to flow. My beloved child, many times what I am waiting for is not some great spiritual performance. I am simply waiting for one small movement of genuine faith. There are days when you think you are doing nothing great for me, but I see what others cannot see. I see when you fight to keep your heart tender in a world that easily hardens people. I see when you still choose forgiveness, even after being wounded. I see when you return to prayer instead of allowing bitterness to take hold of your heart. Nothing done out of sincere love for me is ever meaningless. My beloved child, do not underestimate the small bricks of faithfulness. A strong house is not built in one glorious day, but through countless small bricks, carefully placed over time. Your relationship with me is the same. Every time you turn your heart back toward me, every time you choose to remain instead of walking away, every time you whisper my name through tears, another brick is being laid into the foundation of your life. And there will come a day when you look back and realize that your weakest seasons became the very places where my love touched your soul most deeply. For when you no longer rely on outward strength, you will begin to learn how to live by grace. And my beloved child, that is where true faith begins to mature, not in your perfection, but in my unchanging faithfulness. My beloved child, I have never expected you to come before me as someone already perfected. I am not searching for beautiful prayers, while the soul behind them remains closed. Nor do I need you to cover yourself with an appearance of spiritual strength to hide the cracks within. What I have always waited for is a sincere heart, a child willing to come near to their father, even while their eyes are still red from weeping, while their mind remains tangled with confusion, while their lips can barely form a few broken words they do not know how to arrange. My child, it is precisely in that honesty that you are actually very near to me. There are nights when you sit silently before me and think you no longer know what to pray. You feel your words are poor, your faith weak, your heart no longer burning as it once did, but the Spirit helps us in our weakness. As Romans 8:26 says, because even when you do not know how to express yourself correctly, heaven still understands your heart. I hear even the sighs that cannot become words. I understand the tears you have not yet wiped away. I know there are pains so deep that human language cannot fully reach them. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission will grow into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Giving to this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through hearts that are kind. This is what I say over you now. Each gift you give is like a stream of living water that flows into the life of someone who needs healing. Give, and it will be given to you is not just a verse for Jesus. It is a living promise that shapes your future. Allow me to invite you now with a simple act of faith. Come into this moment with purpose, with honesty, and with hope. The money you give today is not a donation. The act of spiritual obedience that lets your heavens open is what opens them. Let go of your seed and see what God brings back into your life. And my beloved child, even in those very moments, I am still very near to you. What grieves my heart is not when you are weak. I know that you are only dust given life by my breath. But what creates distance is when you no longer open your heart to me, when you hide the truest parts of your soul, when you continue all the outward activities of faith while inwardly remaining silent before me for far too long. There are souls who still read scripture, still attend church, still speak about faith, yet their hearts no longer truly converse with me. They no longer weep before me. They no longer tell me what is happening within them. And slowly, the dust of distance settles over a relationship that was meant to be as living and intimate as breath itself. My beloved child, do not confuse the voice of condemnation with my voice. The voice of condemnation always pulls you farther away from the light. It tells you that you have failed too many times, that you have been cold for too long, that it is too late to return. It causes you to bow your head beneath shame until your soul no longer has the strength to rise again. But my voice is different. I do not hide the truth about the places in your life that need change. Yet whenever I correct you, hope always walks beside it. When I touch a wound, it is to heal it, not to pour salt into it. He delights in mercy. As Micah 7:18 says, is not merely a description of my nature, it is the way I deal with you every single day. Remember Peter after the night he denied me 3 times. When the rooster crowed, he broke apart in pain and shame. He believed he had failed too deeply to ever stand near me again. But after the resurrection, I did not seek him out to crush him beneath guilt. I found him by the seashore, where a small fire burned in the quiet of the morning. I asked him 3 times whether he loved me, not to deepen his pain, but to restore what had been broken within his heart. My beloved child, that is also how I deal with you. I do not draw you back to me only to endlessly remind you of old failures. I draw you near in order to rebuild your soul. Do not let shame keep you forever in a place of lowered eyes. There are people who have lived in guilt for so long that they mistake it for humility. But true humility is not continually condemning yourself. True humility is trusting that my blood has the power to cleanse you. If we confess our sins, He is faithful and just to forgive us, as 1 John 1:9 says, is a promise that has never changed. When I forgive, I do not hold your past in my hands to bring it up again whenever you grow weak. I remove it so that you may continue forward in freedom. My beloved child, I do not expect you to return to me through your own perfect strength. I simply want you to return. Even the smallest prayer is enough to open the door for light to enter. Even the weakest cry is enough for heaven to hear. Do not think that you must feel spiritually passionate before you are allowed to come near to me. It is precisely when you feel most empty that you need to remain close to the source of life more than ever before. Remember David when he wrote, "A broken and contrite heart, O God, you will not despise." As Psalm 51:17 says, "What pleases me is not cold perfection, but a tender heart that still knows how to return." There are people who maintain a polished outward appearance, while their souls have long since become dry and hardened. Yet there are others who come before me with tears and trembling, and they are far nearer to me, because they do not hide themselves. So today, my beloved child, do not run farther away anymore. Do not continue hiding from me the things I have already seen for so long. Bring to me your weariness, your spiritual coldness, the questions that still have no answers, and the disappointments you have not yet dared to name. I do not turn my face away from such things. I am your Father, and a true father does not leave his child alone in the darkness, simply because the child stumbled along the way. Lift your eyes up from shame. Remember that my grace is greater than all your failures. My love is deeper than the seasons when you wandered far from me, and my mercy is new every morning. When you return to me with a sincere heart, even if it is trembling and weak, heaven does not see you as a failure crawling back home. Heaven sees you as a child being gathered once again into the arms of the Father. My beloved child, I know there are places within your heart that you have never truly opened to anyone. There are memories you have buried deeply, because you fear that touching them again would cause the old pain to rush back like before. There are wounds that have remained hidden beneath silence for so long that you thought you had overcome them. Yet with only the smallest moment, they still quietly ache within you. So you learned how to survive through avoidance. You stay busy so you do not have to face what is inside. You remain silent so you do not have to remember. You pretend to be fine, so no one can see the exhausted part of your soul. But my beloved child, I have never taken my eyes away from those places. No dark corner within you is outside my understanding. If I say, "Surely the darkness shall cover me," even the darkness is not dark to you. As Psalm 139:11-12 says, "What you try to hide, because you fear exposure, I have already seen long ago, and I still love you. Do not be afraid of my light. I do not come to bring you greater shame. I do not shine upon the cracks within you in order to condemn you. My light is like the gentle hand of a physician, opening an old bandage to heal the place that is silently bled for far too long." There are souls so accustomed to living in the darkness of self-protection that when I touch their wounds, they believe I am hurting them more. But my beloved child, I am only leading you out of the prison that has held you captive for so long. For a wound kept hidden forever will never truly heal. It only learns how to survive alongside the pain. I desire more for you than that. I desire restoration for you. Remember the woman who had been bent over for 18 years in the synagogue. For all those years, she had grown accustomed to living bowed down, accustomed to seeing life only from a limited and burdened perspective. But when I called her forward and placed my hands upon her, the first thing restored was not only her body, it was the posture of her soul. She stood upright for the first time in many years. My beloved child, I also desire to lift your soul up in the same way, not merely so your pain may lessen, but so you may stop living beneath the weight of the things that have kept you bowed down for too long. I do not look at you the way the world does. The world often measures worth by celta, by strength, by how much you accomplish, or how many times you fail. But your value was never created by those things. Your value rests in the very hands that formed you. We are His workmanship, as Ephesians 2:10 says, is not some distant phrase. It is the truth of your identity. I see far more within you than the broken pieces of your present moment. I see the purpose I planted in you from the beginning. I see the beauty that still remains beneath the ashes of painful seasons. I see the light that darkness has never truly been able to extinguish. My beloved child, do not think that a few stumbles have caused me to change my mind about you. Though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again, as Proverbs 24:16 says, not because they have never been weak, but because my grace continually lifts them back up. There are days when you feel like such a failure that you no longer dare to return to me, yet it is precisely in those days that my voice still gently calls out to you. My child, come back to me. I do not grow weary of drawing you near again. My love does not run dry after every fall, and my mercy has never closed its door to the sincere cry of your heart. There are many things you are searching for in this life: a sense of security, stability, joy, meaning, recognition. But my beloved child, everything that belongs to this world can change. A job can be lost. Someone you deeply love may walk away. Feelings that burn brightly today may grow cold tomorrow. Money comes and goes like the wind. Even the most beautiful things on earth are not strong enough to become the final foundation for your soul. And when you place your heart entirely upon things that are so easily shaken, every tremor of life will cause your spirit to tremble with them. But my soul finds rest in God alone. He alone is my rock and my salvation. As Psalm 62:6-7 says, my beloved child, I am the unshakable rock in the midst of every changing season of your life. When I become the deepest refuge of your soul, the storms outside will no longer have the power to drown the peace within you. That does not mean your life will no longer face trials, but it does mean that trials will no longer define you. Remember Peter upon the stormy sea. As long as his eyes remained fixed on me, he walked upon the water, even while the waves still raged around him. But the moment his eyes turned toward the storm, fear pulled him downward. My beloved child, your soul is often the same. When you build your life upon the fragile things of this world, your heart is easily dragged down by every change surrounding you. But when your eyes return to me, you will discover a steadiness that does not depend upon circumstances. I never promised you a life that would never be shaken. I promised that I, myself, would be the place in your life that can never be shaken. And when you truly anchor your heart in me, you will begin to understand that peace is not the absence of storms. Peace is my presence in the midst of them. So, today, my beloved child, stop running from my light. Do not continue building your life upon things that can disappear with time. Let me become the deepest foundation of your soul. Let me enter even the places where you still feel ashamed, afraid, or unable to put your pain into words. For it is often in the places where you think yourself weakest that I desire to reveal my greatest mercy. And day by day, you will begin to understand this more clearly. True stability does not come from controlling everything around you, but from knowing that the one who holds your life will never let you go. My beloved child, do not think that walking closely with me means you will never again face stormy days. There are souls who believe that if they love me enough, every trial will disappear, Every door will remain open, and tears will never touch their lives again. But my beloved child, I never promised a journey without collision or pain. What I promised is that my presence would never leave you in the middle of those collisions. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. As Isaiah 43:2 says, is not a promise that deep waters will never come. It is the assurance that you will not drown in them. Look at the eagle when strong winds come. It does not panic like smaller birds trying to find shelter. It spreads its wings and uses that very powerful current to rise higher. My beloved child, I am teaching your soul to do the same. Some things that once made you tremble will now become places where I reveal my strength within you. Not because the trial disappears, but because you are no longer standing in the same place as before. I am lifting you above the voices that once weighed heavily upon your life, above memories of failure, above the words that once made you doubt your worth, above the fear that kept your feet locked in place for many years. There are seasons when you thought you were merely breaking apart, but in truth, I was refining you. Gold does not become pure without passing through fire. And your soul is the same. There are things within you that can only be healed through tears. There are chains that fall away only when you walk through painful seasons you once tried so hard to avoid. But my beloved child, I have never allowed you to pass through the fire alone. Even when you cannot see me clearly, I am still standing in the furnace with you, just as I stood with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego long ago. The fire did not destroy them. It only burned away the ropes that bound them. In the same way, some trials in your life have not come to destroy you, but to cause the things that no longer belong to the light to fall away from you. Look back upon the journey through which I have led you. Were there not days when you thought you would never be able to stand again? Were there not nights when you believed your heart would remain forever submerged in that darkness? Yet, my beloved child, you are still here. I held your hand through every stretch of the road, when even you could not understand how you managed to get through. I brought you out of numbness, so you could begin to recognize the light. I used your tears of repentance to wash the dust of old seasons from your soul. I allowed you to see your weakness, not so you would despair, but so you would learn to rely on my grace. And now, I want you to stop looking at yourself through the eyes of the past. You are no longer the person who was once imprisoned in that old darkness. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation, as 2 Corinthians 5:17 declares, is the proclamation of your true identity. The old things no longer have the right to rule over your soul. Old wounds may still carry memories, but they are no longer chains. I am turning the very places that once wounded you into a testimony of my mercy. My beloved child, do not be ashamed of the journey you have walked through. Some people hide every scar because they think those scars make them less valuable. But I see healed scars as evidence of grace. Remember Joseph. He was betrayed, sold into slavery, and forgotten in prison. Through human eyes, his past was full of loss and injustice. But I was writing a story greater than what he could understand at the time. The very pits he passed through became the road that led him to a place where many lives would be saved. And then he was able to say, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." My beloved child, I am doing the same in your life. I do not waste a single tear you have cried in me. Some things that once made you think you were weak will actually become the very places where my power is most clearly revealed. My power is made perfect in weakness. As 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, is a truth many souls only understand after walking through pain. I do not need you to pretend to be strong. I only want you to remain in me long enough to discover that true strength is not found in never having been broken, but in being restored by me after each breaking. My beloved child, do not let the past continue telling you that you will always be limited by what happened. I do not call you by the name of your old wounds. I call you by the new identity I have placed within you. The seasons of pain are no longer a prison. They have become a testimony that my light is stronger than the darkness. So today, lift up your head. Do not continue living as though you are still bound by the days that have already passed. I am teaching you to rise above fear, above self-condemnation, above every voice that has tried to pull you back into the old version of yourself. And when you learn to move with the wind of my spirit, instead of struggling through your own strength, you will discover that the very winds that once made you tremble are now lifting you closer to the heavens than ever before. For my beloved child, you are no longer the ashes of your past. You are a living testimony of my grace, a soul that has passed through fire, yet was not consumed, that has walked through deep waters, yet was not drowned, and that now reflects the glory of the one who has never let go of you, not even once. My beloved child, there is a kind of beauty that this world finds very difficult to understand, the beauty of a soul that knows how to live in true humility. The world often believes that strength belongs to the person who constantly proves themselves right, who must always be seen, recognized, and victorious in every argument. But my child, true strength is not so noisy. A deep river usually flows more quietly than a shallow stream full of foam, and a soul that is truly mature in me is the same. It no longer lives to capture the attention of others, but quietly reflects the light of its Father. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history, it is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. A flower does not wake up every morning trying to shout to the entire garden that it is beautiful. It simply draws in the light, receives the rain from heaven, sinks its roots deep into the earth, and in the right season, it naturally blooms. My beloved child, I desire your soul to be like that. Do not live in the exhaustion of constantly trying to prove your worth. Do not allow your heart to be dragged into the endless race of comparison. The world may measure you by achievements, praise, or recognition, but your true value was never born from human eyes. That value was placed within you by my hands from the very beginning. Whoever humbles himself will be exalted. As Matthew 23:12 says, is not a call for you to live as someone worthless or to despise yourself. True humility is not denying what I have placed within you. It is understanding that every beautiful thing in your life comes from grace, A humble person does not need to dim their light so others may feel more comfortable. They simply do not turn that light into an idol for themselves. My beloved child, I am teaching you a different kind of strength from the one the world celebrates. It is the strength of a person who does not need to raise their voice in order to be heard. A truly strong person is not someone who wins every argument. They are someone who does not need to win in order to know their worth. There are souls who constantly live on the defensive, always trying to prove themselves right, because deep inside they are still afraid of being overlooked. But when you know that I am the one who affirms you, you will no longer be controlled by the need for recognition from others. Remember Moses. Scripture says that he was the meekest man upon the face of the earth. Yet that meekness did not make him weak. It was that humble man who stood before Pharaoh, stretched out his staff over the Red Sea, and led the people through what seemed impossible. My beloved child, true humility does not make you smaller. It frees you from the burden of constantly defending yourself. It gives you enough peace to allow me to fight for you in the things you no longer need to prove on your own. The Lord will fight for you. You only to be still, as Exodus 14:14 says, is a lesson many souls take a very long time to learn. There are battles that do not require shouting. There are truths that do not need strain or force in order to remain true. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply appears, and the darkness retreats on its own. Truth is the same. When you live in me, you do not need pride to force others to recognize your worth. What is genuine will stand firm in time. My beloved child, this world is filled with souls exhausted from trying to maintain an image of themselves. They live under pressure to always be greater than others, to constantly prove their importance, to continually demand attention. But I did not create you for that race. I am placing upon your head a different crown, a crown of peace and humility. It does not shine in the way the world prays, but in the eyes of heaven, it is exceedingly precious. Look at me when I walked among people on the earth. I could have called 12 legions of angels to defend me. Yet, I chose to wash the feet of my disciples. I could have caused people to bow before me through power. Yet, I chose to draw near to the hurting and forgotten. My beloved child, the greatest power is not the power that makes others afraid. The greatest power is the power that still preserves love and gentleness, even when it has the strength to overpower everything. When you live in that humility, your soul will begin to feel lighter. You will no longer need to fight for every position in order to feel meaningful. You will stop exhausting yourself, trying to constantly prove that you are worthy. For you already know that the Creator of heaven and earth has called you beloved, and that affirmation is deeper than every praise or criticism this world could ever give. My beloved child, I want you to walk gently through this world, filled with competition. Do not allow your heart to become stained by the bitterness of always needing to win. Keep gratitude alive within you each day. Remember that every breath, every opportunity, every ray of light in your life is grace. A grateful soul will not easily be blinded by pride, because it understands that every good thing it possesses comes from me. There will be people who do not remember all the words you spoke, but they will remember the sense of peace they felt in your presence. There will be souls who look at your life and recognize a beauty that does not come from display or self-exaltation, but from gentleness and quiet strength within. And my beloved child, it is often the souls who do not try to seize the light for themselves, who reflect my light most clearly. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. As Matthew 5:5 says, it is not a promise for those who are weak and powerless. It is a promise for those who have learned how to be strong, without losing their gentleness, who have learned how to stand firm, without stepping upon others, in order to lift themselves higher. So today, do not be afraid to live humbly in a world that worships display. Do not think you must become loud in order to carry influence. A small lamp can still light an entire dark room. A peaceful soul can still change the atmosphere wherever they enter. And as you continue to live near me, you will discover that the deepest influence does not come from trying to make yourself stand out, but from allowing my presence within you to become so clear that others cannot help but sense it. My beloved child, do not think that I draw near to you only on the days when you are strong or passionate or full of faith. If you had to be perfect before entering my presence, no one would be able to stand before me. What I have always sought is not a flawless soul, but a heart that still knows how to open itself, a child who, even while trembling, still dares to say, "Father, please teach me." My child, it is precisely in that tender place that heaven delights to descend the most. For when you stop pretending that you are fine and begin to be honest with me, the deepest door of your soul truly opens for the light to enter. There are people who try to hide their weakness even before me. They think they must have enough beautiful words, enough strength, enough passionate emotion before I will be pleased to listen. But my beloved child, I knew you even before you knew how to pray. I understand even the things you cannot put into words. The Lord is near to the broken-hearted. As Psalm 34:19 says, is not merely a comforting verse for moments of despair. It is a revelation of where I am most often found. I am near to the souls who know they need me. I am near to those who no longer have the strength to save themselves. I am near to the children who still return, even while their hearts are full of tears. Remember Peter after he denied me 3 times. He no longer saw himself as worthy to stand near me. His disappointment in himself became so heavy that he returned to his old life of fishing, as though every beautiful thing had already come to an end. But, my beloved child, I came looking for him on that morning by the seashore. I did not begin with accusation. I kindled a fire, prepared bread and fish for him, and then gently asked, "Do you love me?" I did not ask in order to deepen his shame, but to draw him out of the guilt that was imprisoning him. In the same way, I do not come to crush you beneath the weight of guilt. I come to restore what is breaking within your heart. My beloved child, there are times when I touch the most painful place in your soul, and you think you are being wounded even more. But I am not the one who comes to destroy you. I am like the potter, patiently shaping the clay with hands full of love. The potter does not press the clay because he hates it. He sees the beautiful vessel hidden inside the misshapen earth. I am the same. I see more within you than you see in yourself. There are things I remove from you, not because I want to cause you loss, but because they are keeping you from becoming the person I intended you to be from the beginning. We are His workmanship. As Ephesians 20:10 says, is not merely some distant spiritual idea. It is the truth about your value. I do not look at you as a failed project that must be discarded. I look at you as a work being completed by grace. And my beloved child, a work under construction will have days filled with dust, unfinished places, and moments that seem chaotic. But that does not mean the builder has given up. Do not be afraid when my light begins to show you the places that need healing. Many souls think that recognizing their mistakes is a sign that they have failed. But in truth, it is evidence that the light is working within them. A room completely swallowed by darkness cannot see the dust upon the floor. Only when light enters does everything become clear. And my beloved child, that is not meant to drive you into despair. It is a sign that your soul is still alive. He has searched me and known me. As Psalm 139:1 says, is not a threat, it is a comfort. I know even the parts of you that you do not yet understand about yourself, and still I do not turn my face away from you. Therefore, every time you recognize something within your heart that needs to change, do not see it as proof that I have moved away from you. See it as a sign that my light is entering more deeply. A soul that has become completely hardened no longer feels the need to repent. But when your heart still trembles at my call, it means the Holy Spirit is still working within you. Remember King David, when the prophet Nathan revealed the sin he had hidden, his heart was broken. But that very brokenness opened the way for restoration. David was not perfect. Yet he was still called a man after God's own heart, because he did not try to remain forever in the darkness. He allowed my light to touch him. He allowed repentance to become the doorway that led him back nearer to me. My beloved child, do not be ashamed that you still need healing. Do not be afraid to admit that there are places within your heart that are not yet at peace. A soul that knows it needs me is closer to heaven than a soul that believes it no longer needs to change. I am not discouraged by your fragility. I only want you to stop hiding from the hands that desire to heal you. So, today come near to me in the truth of who you are. Do not wear the mask of strength any longer. Do not try to stand before me as though you are already whole. Come as a weary child who needs the arms of their father. For I do not love you any less on the days when you are weak. And every time you return with a tender heart, heaven does not see you as a failure trying to begin again. Heaven sees you as a beloved child who is still responding to the Father's call in the midst of darkness and is being gently led back into the light. My beloved child, do not continue living as though you are still chained by the old days. I am not calling you to rise with a face that must forcefully hide every wound. Nor am I calling you to become a soul that pretends it has never been hurt. I am calling you to rise as one who has been touched by grace. Some scars may still remain, but they are no longer signs of captivity. They have become testimonies that I brought you through the fire without allowing you to be consumed. My beloved child, there are people around you who are living in despair because they believe their mistakes are the end of their story. They look at the past and see only darkness. They think that after everything that has happened, there is no hope left for them. But when they see you, someone who was once broken yet can still smile, still love, still keep walking forward, their hearts will begin to open to hope. Not because you are perfect, but because the healing I have placed within you becomes light for them. You are the light of the world, as Matthew 5:14 says, is not only about preaching with words. There are times when your restored life itself becomes the most powerful sermon. I want your smile to no longer be a mask that hides pain, but a sign of a soul that has learned my love is greater than every failure. When you live in the joy of being forgiven, heaven begins to reflect through you. There will be people who realize that grace is not some distant idea written in books, but a real power that can lift a person from the ashes of the past. Remember Mary Magdalene? People saw her through the lens of her past mistakes and former darkness, but I saw a soul that could be restored by love. And then that very woman, who had once been looked down upon, became one of the first to witness the resurrection. My beloved child, I delight in doing this, taking the places that were once most covered by darkness and causing my light to rise from there. For when I restore a soul, the glory that belongs to me becomes even clearer. I look back upon the journey you have walked with the joy of a father watching his child gradually step out of the night. Do you remember the days when you once thought you would never escape that shame? Do you remember the seasons when you believed you had gone too far to ever return? But my beloved child, I have never let go of your hand, not even once. Even on the days when you thought you were wandering alone, my hand was quietly guiding your way. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. As Philippians 1:6 says, is a promise I have never forgotten. I do not leave unfinished the work I have begun within your soul. There are times when you feel you are moving very slowly, but I am not disappointed by your pace. A father watching his child learn to walk does not despise the child's trembling steps. He rejoices because the child is still getting back up after every fall. I am the same. I rejoice when I see your heart becoming softer than before. I rejoice when I see you returning more quickly after moments of weakness. I rejoice when I see that the light within you is no longer as easily extinguished by darkness as it once was. My beloved child, you no longer have to live in the fear of being forgotten. There were years when you ran in search of love from people, from success, from the fleeting things of this world, only because deep within your heart you feared that you were not valuable enough to be fully loved. But today I want you to understand that you never had to search for love like someone abandoned. Love found you first. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. As Jeremiah 1:5 says, is the assurance that before you even knew how to call my name, I had already called yours. Remember the story of the shepherd who left the 99 sheep to search for the one that was lost. That may sound unreasonable to the calculations of the world, but that is my heart. I do not see you as a number in the crowd. I know your name. I know the sound of your cry. And even when you wander away, I still go looking for you. My beloved child, your worth is not found in the fact that you have never made mistakes. If that were so, no one on this earth would have hope. Your worth is defined by the love that was poured out on the cross. When I stretched out my arms upon that wood, I did not do it because you were already perfect. I did it because you were worth redeeming in my eyes. God demonstrates His own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us, as Romans 5:8 says, is proof that my love did not wait for you to become good enough before it began. So, today, my beloved child, stop looking at yourself through the lens of old failures. Do not continue calling yourself by the names that darkness once placed upon you. Rise as one who has been forgiven. Walk as one who has been loved. Let your life reflect the joy of a soul that knows it has been drawn out of the depths by grace And there will be people who look at you and find hope again for themselves. Not because you have never been broken, but because they see how I have restored you. They will realize that my love is stronger than sin, stronger than the past, stronger than every darkness that once tried to hold a soul captive in despair. So, keep walking forward, my beloved child. Do not live with your head bowed, as though you are still condemned. The light has already touched you, and where my light dwells, darkness no longer has the final word. My beloved child, do not misunderstand the seasons in which I am shaping your life. There are times when your soul feels pain, as I touch the things you once held on to so tightly, and you wonder why I would allow such things to happen. The world often thinks correction is a sign of rejection, that if a person must pass through confrontation or be touched in their deepest wound, then surely they have been forgotten or are no longer loved. But my child, I am not like the world. I do not correct you in order to crush you. I correct you because I see what you cannot yet see. I see the abyss ahead on paths that may seem harmless today. And I love you too much to stand still while your soul slowly slips away from the light. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves, as Hebrews 12:6 says, is not a threat. It is evidence that you are still held within the arms of a Father who is caring for your soul. A true father will not allow his child to keep running toward danger simply because he fears the child may feel uncomfortable when called back. There are times when love must speak louder than temporary comfort. And my beloved child, if I were to leave you sinking endlessly in bitterness, pride, resentment, or spiritual coldness without awakening you, that would be the truly frightening thing. I know there are seasons when you feel as though you are walking through fire. There are days when everything you once leaned upon seems to be shaken. Things you thought would last forever suddenly crack right before your eyes. And your soul aches because it does not understand why I would allow this to happen. But my beloved child, people only see the fire and call it pain. I see beyond that fire. I see the soul that will emerge after the season of refining softer, purer, and freer from the things that once held it captive. Remember Joseph in prison. You are about to enter your divine future. Remember that this message does not end with you. People can use your breakthrough to get where they need to go. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, you can help this mission. By doing so, you are sowing into the awakening, deliverance, and restoration of souls who are still trapped in darkness. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." Every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and safety for your family. Now is your time, my child. Have faith, and as you do, watch God multiply what you let go of. If seen only through human eyes, that journey was full of injustice and loss. He was betrayed, forgotten, and brought into a dark place though he was innocent. Yet in those very years, I was refining his character, teaching him patience, humility, and trust. If I had brought him into a high position too soon while his soul was not yet prepared, power could have destroyed him. My beloved child, many times what I am doing is not delaying you, but preparing you, so that you can carry what I intend to give without losing your soul. Do not fear my fire, for it does not come to burn away your true self. That fire is only consuming the things that no longer belong to the identity I placed within you. There are layers of pride that can gradually distance you from others without you even realizing it. There are hidden roots of bitterness that silently dry out your soul day by day. There are fears that cause you to shrink back and not dare to enter what I am calling you into. There are also words of resentment that make your heart so heavy you can no longer hear my voice clearly. My beloved child, those things are not your true self. They are only ashes and dust covering the soul with light. You will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, as Malachi 3:3 says, is the image I want you to keep in your heart today. The refiner does not walk away when the metal enters the fire. He sits right there, watching attentively over every moment of the refining process, and he knows when the work is complete, when he can see his own image reflected in the silver. My beloved child, I am also sitting very near in your season of refining. I have not left you alone in the fire, and my final purpose is not to cause you pain, but to make my image shine more clearly within your soul. There are things you are losing that are actually chains, being removed from your life. There are doors closing because they no longer lead you toward life. There are confrontations that awaken you from a state of spiritual sleep you did not previously recognize. My beloved child, do not look only at the discomfort of the present and conclude that I am against you. A gardener must cut away dry branches so the tree can bear better fruit, and every branch that bears fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit, as John 15:32 says. I do not prune because I hate the vine. I do it because I see the greater season of fruitfulness waiting ahead. I know there are times when you grow weary and wonder how much more you must go through. But my beloved child, do not judge my work only by your temporary feelings. When a seed is buried in the soil, it may think it is being covered forever. But in truth, it is being prepared to sprout. In the same way, there are seasons when you think you are losing everything, yet I am creating new depth within your soul. So today, do not run from the hand that is shaping you. Do not be afraid when I touch the places you once kept hidden. I have not come to destroy your soul. I have come to set you free from everything that is covering the true beauty I placed within you from the beginning. And there will come a time when you look back on those seasons of fire with tears of gratitude. You will realize that what I removed was never more precious than what I am building within you. You will see that the very things that once wounded you became the places where my light shone most brightly. And my beloved child, when the final layer of ash falls away, your soul will reflect the beauty of heaven more gently and purely than ever before. My beloved child, I want you to understand deeply that the fire you are walking through is not outside my control, not even for a moment. I am not a cold-hearted craftsman who throws silver into the furnace and then turns away, leaving it to struggle against the heat on its own. I am the one who sits very near throughout your refining process, never taking my eyes off your soul for even a second. I know exactly what is happening inside you right now. The nights when you feel exhausted, the moments when you wonder why this journey is so difficult, the times when you fear you will not have enough strength to keep going. But my beloved child, I know the limits of your soul better than you know yourself. A wise refiner understands that if the metal is left in the fire, even a little too long, it will be ruined. Therefore, he does not take his eyes off it. He patiently observes every small change, adjusts the heat at the right time, And when asked how he knows the silver has become pure enough, he answers, "When I can see my face reflected in it." My beloved child, that is also what I am doing in your life. I am not leading you through the fire to destroy you. I am refining you until my light is reflected more clearly in your soul, not the light of pride or religious appearance, but the gentleness, peace, and love that carry the fragrance of heaven. There are times when you think I am far away, because the circumstances around you feel too heavy. But in truth, it is often in the very midst of the fire that I am closest to you. Remember the 3 Hebrew men who were thrown into the fiery furnace because they refused to bow before the idol. People looked and saw only fire and punishment. But when the king looked into the furnace, he was astonished, because there were not only 3 men standing there. There was another one walking with them in the midst of the flames. My beloved child, in the same way, the place where you think you are most alone may be the very place where my presence covers you most deeply. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, as Isaiah 43:92 says, does not mean you will not feel the heat of the trial. It means the fire has no authority to destroy the soul I am preserving. Do not confuse refinement with rejection. There are souls who, as soon as they feel pain, quickly conclude that I no longer love them. But, my beloved child, a loving father does not abandon his child to what is silently destroying them. There are things I must remove from your life, even though you once held them very tightly. There are layers of pride I must soften. There are fears I must draw out from the deepest hidden places. There are defenses that have kept your heart from loving freely, and there are also quiet roots of bitterness that have slowly caused your soul to lose its light, without you even realizing it. My fire does not come to take away your true self. It only burns away the things that never belonged to the identity I placed within you. A seed must break through its old shell before it can sprout. A vine must be pruned before it can bear more fruit. And your soul is the same. There are old parts that must be released so the true beauty I have planted within you may be revealed more clearly. My beloved child, I know there are days when you grow weary of this process. There are times when you want to run from the fire, to return to what is familiar, even though that familiar place is keeping you low. But do not run from the hand that is healing you. Do not be afraid of my correction. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful later on. However, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace, as Hebrews 12:11 says. What I am doing today will blossom in your future, in ways you cannot yet fully see. A day will come when you look back on the seasons of tears and understand that I never wasted anything. The places once filled with chaos will become places where peace dwells. The defensive reactions of the past will be replaced with gentleness and wisdom. The dark areas that once made you feel ashamed will begin to reflect my light instead of hiding it. And my beloved child, that is the wonder of refinement. It does not turn you into someone else. It reveals the true self I placed within you from the very beginning. Remember that the final purpose of the fire is not pain. The final purpose is reflection. I am making your soul clearer so that the world may look at your life and recognize that a light not of this earth is living within you. There will be people who find hope simply because they see that you remain gentle after pain, that you still carry peace after storms, that you still love after being wounded. And then they will understand that what is holding you together is not your own strength, but the presence of the Father living within your soul. So, today, my beloved child, be at peace in my hands. The fire will not last longer than necessary. I am guarding your soul every moment, and when this season of refining is complete, you will come forth, not as one consumed by the flames, but as pure gold reflecting the glory of the One who has always been with you in the blazing fire. My beloved child, after the seasons through which I have led you, seasons of tears, refining, and healing, there is a gift far deeper than many things you have ever asked for, that I desire to place within your soul: humility. For my child, there are people who receive light, yet gradually lose themselves in that very light. There are souls who are given gifts, who see doors of blessing opened, who are loved and listened to by others, yet their hearts begin to drift away from the true source of life without realizing it. Pride rarely enters with a loud noise. It often comes quietly, subtly, slipping in through the feeling that one is now strong enough, wise enough, special enough to no longer need to rely on me as before. Therefore, my beloved child, I desire to place within you a heart that knows how to bow before grace, not the bowing of shame or self-contempt, but the humility born from recognizing that every good thing in your life comes from the Father's hand. What do you have that you did not receive? As 1 Corinthians 4:7 says, it is not meant to make you feel small and meaningless. It is a gentle reminder that even the breath you have in this very moment is a gift. The talents you carry, the opportunities you receive, the healing within your soul, the doors that once opened at the right time, all of these are streams of grace flowing through your life. Humility is not denying the light I have placed within you. A lamp does not become more humble by pretending it does not shine. True humility is that its light did not originate from itself. A humble heart does not live in self-exaltation, but neither does it sink into self-despising. It lives in gratitude. It does not need to constantly lift itself above others in order to feel valuable, because it already knows its worth has been placed in my love. My beloved child, I love the beauty of a soul that becomes gentler the more it is lifted up. There are people who, once they begin to be healed, gradually become harsh toward those who are still weak. They forget that they too were once lifted from a dark place. But I'm teaching you another way. I want your heart to become softer the more I use you. The more blessed you are, the more you will know how to bend down and lift others up. The more you understand truth, the more you will know how to have mercy on souls that are still lost. Look at me as I walked among people. I am the King of glory, yet I knelt down to wash the feet of my disciples. I could have caused every knee a bow through power, yet I chose to touch the leper, sit with the rejected, and weep with wounded souls. My beloved child, true strength is not standing above everyone else to be served. True strength is being able to bend low without losing your dignity. The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. As Mark 1:45 says, is the path I am teaching you to walk. There is a very holy beauty in a soul that knows how to bow before grace. Such a person no longer lives as though every success was created by their own strength. They know that, without my hand holding them, they could fall just as easily as anyone else, and that very awareness softens their heart. They stop judging quickly. They stop seeing themselves as higher than others. They learn to look upon weak souls with eyes full of compassion instead of pride. My beloved child, remember King David. Though he was anointed to be king, he still knew how to bow before me. There were times when he fell very deeply, but it was humility that kept him from remaining forever in darkness. He knew how to weep and repent. He knew how to return. And I love that heart. I am not searching for souls that have never made mistakes. I am searching for souls that still know how to become tender before my voice. Do not fear that humility will make you weak in this world full of striving. The greatest tree is often the one whose roots go deepest. And the more deeply a soul is rooted in me, the less it needs to display itself. People of the world may try to build their worth through prominence, through always needing to be recognized and to win. But you no longer need to live beneath that burden. I am teaching you another kind of peace, the peace of one who knows they belong to me. God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. As James 4:6 says, is not a threat, but a loving warning. Pride gradually closes the soul to the flow of grace. It causes you to begin believing that you can stand on your own without the source of life. But humility keeps your heart open before me. It keeps you near the living water instead of trying to become the source yourself. My beloved child, I do not want you merely to carry light. I want you to carry light with a tender heart, for a soul full of power, but lacking humility, can wound others without realizing it. But a soul that is both bright and gentle will become a place of healing for many. So today, walk gently among the blessings I am giving you. Do not forget the one who led you through the dark seasons. Do not forget who is the source of every good thing in your life. Keep gratitude in every breath. And as I continue to lift you up, bow even more deeply in love and mercy. Then you will discover something very beautiful. My beloved child, a humble soul does not become smaller. It becomes spacious enough to carry my glory without losing itself. My beloved child, hold on to humility as one holds a lamp in the night. For while your soul still knows how to bow before grace, your heart will not become hardened in this wounded world. Humility will remind you that every breath you have today is a gift. Every step in which you stand firm is upheld by my hand. And every time you are restored begins with mercy, not with your own merit. My beloved child, do not allow the seasons of blessing I give you to make you forget the spring that nourished your soul and helped it grow. And if there is a time when you fall again, do not remain lying in the dust of shame. There are souls who, after stumbling, condemn themselves so deeply that they no longer dare to lift their eyes toward the light. But I am not calling you to stay in that place. A child learning to walk is not abandoned by their father simply because they stumble one more time. A good father bends down even closer to help the child stand again. I am the same. My beloved child, I do not love you less on the days when you are weak. My love does not change according to the unstable emotions of human beings. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission will grow into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Giving to this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through hearts that are kind. This is what I say over you now. Each gift you give is like a stream of living water that flows into the life of someone who needs healing. Give, and it will be given to you, is not just a verse for Jesus. It is a living promise that shapes your future. Allow me to invite you now with a simple act of faith. Come into this moment with purpose, with honesty, and with hope. The money you give today is not a donation. The act of spiritual obedience that lets your heavens open is what opens them. Let go of your seed and see what God brings back into your life. I have loved you with an everlasting love, as Jeremiah 31:3 says, is the word I am still whispering over your life today. So, rise again, but do not rise through pride that tries to prove you were never hurt. Rise through the humility of a soul that knows it is alive by grace. For true strength is not never having been broken. True strength is knowing how to return to the arms of your Father. Every time you fall, my beloved child, each time you allow me to lift you up, your soul matures further in the light. And then, when your heart is softened by my mercy, the way you look at others will also begin to change. You will no longer be quick to define a person only by their outward appearance or by a few actions they have shown. The world often looks at behavior and immediately judges. But I look deeper into what is hidden beneath the soul. There are people who have become harsh because they have been wounded too deeply and have never truly been healed. There are people who have closed their hearts because they once placed their trust in the wrong place, and their hearts were torn apart by betrayal. There are people who are angry not because they are strong, but because inside them is an insecurity that has never been given a name. My beloved child, when you truly begin to see through my eyes, mercy will become greater than judgment within you. You will no longer see only the thorns in others. You will begin to sense the pain behind those thorns. And in that moment, you will no longer be only one who has been healed. You will begin to become an instrument through which my healing can flow. Remember the woman who was caught in adultery. The crowd stood around her with stones in their hands, ready to end her life through condemnation. But I saw her differently. I saw behind that sin a soul that was lost and needed restoration. I did not call sin right, but neither did I crush her beneath shame. I said, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more, my beloved child. That is the way of seeing I desire to place within you eyes that still hold fast to truth without losing mercy. There will be times when you do not need to say very much in order to touch others. A soul filled with peace already carries light by itself. There will be people who come near you and feel their hearts soften without understanding why. There will be people who for the first time feel truly heard simply because you do not rush to judge them. There will be souls who have become accustomed to living amid coldness and competition. And when they encounter true gentleness, they will realize how deeply tired they have been. A gentle answer turns away wrath, as Proverbs 15:1 says, is not a sign of weakness. A gentle word spoken from a soul full of light can open a door that thousands of words of accusation could never open. The world thinks power lies in controlling others through force. But I am teaching you a much deeper power, the power of true love. Love can touch the deepest places in the human soul, places where pressure and judgment can never enter. My beloved child, the light I have placed within you is not only to guide your own path, it has also been given so that those walking in darkness may see hope. A lamp does not ask who is more worthy to receive its light. It simply shines quietly, wherever it is present. I desire your life to be the same, not needing to display itself, not striving to attract attention, but wherever you enter, the peace and mercy of heaven will also touch that place. There are souls who may never read the Bible first, but they will read your life. They will watch how you treat the weak, how you respond when you are wounded, how you still keep your tenderness in the midst of a world full of hardness. And through that, they will begin to understand who I am. So, today, my beloved child, let humility continue to keep your heart tender. Do not allow old wounds to turn you into someone cold. Do not let disappointment cause you to stop loving. Remember how patient I have been with you, so that you may also learn to be patient with others. And when you live this way, your life will become a stream of cool water in this dry and weary world, a place where tired souls can find the shade of my love. My beloved child, when you wander away from the light, I do not chase after you in anger, like someone pursuing an enemy. I do not hold a sword to drive you into fear. I hold the lamp of mercy to light the way for you to return. For my child, true love does not pull a soul with chains of terror. It calls with a gentleness that causes the heart to begin awakening. Some people think I only speak through great storms, through events that shake their lives, but many times, I enter your soul through a whisper softer than the wind. Sometimes, in the middle of a very ordinary day, your heart suddenly grows heavy as you remember a word that wounded someone. Sometimes in the quiet of the night, something you have tried to avoid for a long time suddenly becomes clear in your mind. Sometimes while you are walking among a crowd, you still feel that something deep within your heart is being touched. My beloved child, that is not meaningless coincidence. It is me gently knocking on the door of your soul, not to shame you, but to awaken the part of light that is still alive within you. I do not delight in crushing your soul with condemnation. If I had only wanted to condemn, I would not have poured out my love upon the cross. I correct your heart because I know you were created for something greater than the chains that are holding you back. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. As Revelation 3:20 says, is the way I often draw near to your life, not by pushing, not by forcing, but by patiently waiting for your heart to open. Remember the prophet Elijah on Mount Horeb. He expected me in the violent things, the strong wind, the earthquake, and the great fire. But I was not in those things. I came through a still small voice. My beloved child, I often work in your soul the same way today. Some of the greatest changes do not begin with thunder shaking the sky, but with a very quiet moment when you pause and realize that you need to return closer to me. There are moments of unrest I place within your heart, not to take away your peace, but to rescue you from spiritual sleep. A soul completely submerged in darkness no longer feels the need to change. But when you begin to feel pain over what is right, when your heart begins to tremble before the light of truth, that is a sign that my Holy Spirit is still working within you. My beloved child, do not be afraid of the moments when I cause you to look back at yourself. That is not rejection. That is love awakening you. I also use the people and stories around you to speak to your soul. Sometimes you see a fault in someone else and suddenly recognize a reflection of yourself in it. Sometimes you hear someone tell the story of their restoration and feel hope quietly come alive again within your own heart. Sometimes just one very simple sentence from a stranger touches the exact hidden place you have never spoken of to anyone. My beloved child, I am using many ways to remind you that you have never been forgotten. Remember the prophet Nathan, when he came to King David after David's sin. Nathan did not begin with fierce condemnation. He told a story about a rich man who stole the only little lamb of a poor man. And when David's heart was stirred by that injustice, he finally realized that the story was reflecting himself. My beloved child, I often shine light upon your soul in the same way, not to crush you, but to open your eyes in the light of truth. There are days when you think you have gone too far to hear my voice anymore. But, my beloved child, no distance is greater than my mercy. No night is so deep that my whisper cannot reach it. The Lord is near to the broken-hearted. As Psalm 34:18 says, is not only for the moments when you return in strength, it is also for the days when you are at your weakest and most weary. Do not confuse the call to repentance with condemnation. Condemnation drives you into despair and makes you want to hide from the light, but my voice always draws you near. I do not point out the wound to make you hurt more. I touch it in order to heal. I do not expose the darkness so that you may be ashamed. I open the light so that you may be free. My beloved child, every time you pause to listen to my voice amid the noise of life, your soul becomes a little softer. Every time you are willing to look at yourself in the light, instead of avoiding it, the old chains loosen a little more. And every time you respond to my gentle call, heaven rejoices because another part of your soul is coming home. So today, do not be afraid when I cause your heart to grow heavy before something that needs to change. Do not quickly silence the whisper that is drawing you closer to the light. That is not the voice of rejection. It is the voice of the Father, who is still patiently standing before your soul and gently calling, my child, come one step closer to me. My beloved child, when I look back over the road you have walked, my heart is filled with the gentle joy of a father watching his child gradually step out of the night. There were days when you lived without knowing where the light was. There were seasons when your heart closed itself because of wounds. Seasons when you became so accustomed to living in shame that you thought it was your identity. But my beloved child, I never stopped working within your soul, even when you did not realize it. I was quietly guiding every step you took, from numbness to awareness, from hardness to tenderness, from despair to hope. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. As Philippians 1:6 says, is not merely a beautiful promise for you to read and then forget. It is the covenant I am keeping with your life. I do not begin something within your soul only to abandon it halfway. Perhaps you feel that you are changing very slowly. Perhaps there are moments when you feel disappointed because certain weaknesses have not completely disappeared yet. But my beloved child, a garden does not bloom in a single night. The gardener patiently tends it through every season, every rain, and every day of sunlight. I am being just as patient with your soul. There were times when you thought you would remain lost forever. There were nights when you believed you had gone too far to ever return to the light. But I never let go of your hand. Even when you felt as though you were walking alone, I was still walking beside you. Remember the story of the shepherd who left the 99 sheep to search for the one that was lost. To the world, that may seem unreasonable, but that is my heart toward you. I do not see you as a nameless soul in the crowd. I know your name. I know the cries you have never been able to put into words. and I do not stop searching for you until I draw you back nearer to my heart. My beloved child, you no longer have to live in the fear of being forgotten. The darkness that once confused you is no longer the place that defines your life. Your path is now illuminated by the light of truth. You may not yet see the entire road ahead, but you are no longer walking in the night as you once did. A person who walks in the light does not need to see the whole path before daring to take the next step. They only need to know who is holding the lamp that guides them. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. As Psalm 119:105 says, is the truth I want to engrave deeply upon your heart today. I do not always show you the whole future, but I always give enough light for the next step. And as you continue walking in that trust, you will discover that I had already prepared the way for you long before you could understand the journey you would have to go through. My beloved child, you also no longer need to run everywhere searching for love. There were years when you searched for your worth in the eyes of others. You feared rejection, feared being forgotten, feared that you were not enough to be fully loved. But today I want you to rest in this truth. Love found you before you ever knew how to search for it. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. As Jeremiah 105 says, before you called my name, I had already called yours. Before you returned, I was already waiting at the door of grace. Your worth is not found in the fact that you have never failed. If that were so, no one on this earth would have hope. Your worth is found in the love that was poured out on the cross for you. When I stretched out my arms upon that wood, I did not do it because you were perfect. I did it because you were more precious in my eyes than you have ever dared to believe about yourself. Therefore, today, my beloved child, I want you to stop fighting against yourself as you did in the old days. There are souls who are exhausted, not because they are fighting the world, but because they are constantly fighting themselves, condemning themselves, doubting themselves, imprisoning themselves in the past. But the one who truly understands grace will no longer continue living as a prisoner of days gone by. Love without continuing to close your heart simply because you were once wounded. A door that remains shut forever may no longer be hurt by anyone who enters, but it also can no longer receive light and life. I do not want you to live that way. I want your heart to become strong enough to remain tender, even after seasons of pain. Forgive without continuing to hold the bitter fragments in your hands. My beloved child, bitterness is like burning coal. The one who holds it the longest is ultimately the one who is burned the deepest. I am not asking you to deny the wounds you have gone through, but I want to set you free from the weight of having to carry them forever in your heart. Walk forward without looking back at the past, as though it were a shadow pulling your feet behind you. Remember Lot's wife. When she kept looking back at what was old, her soul became trapped between two worlds and could not step into the new place I had prepared. My beloved child, I am not calling you to live by the memory of old failures. I am calling you to step into the freedom of love. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. As 2 Corinthians 3:17 says, the one who truly understands grace no longer lives by fear. They live in the rest of one who knows they are loved. They no longer have to constantly prove their worth. They no longer have to run from the light. They know they belong to me. So today, my beloved child, live in peace. Let the past remain behind you. where I nailed it to the cross. Let my love heal the places within your heart that still tremble. And as you continue walking in that freedom, your life will become a living testimony that the light of grace is stronger than every darkness your soul has ever passed through. My beloved child, I place truth into your hands like a key that opens the door to true freedom. Not the temporary false freedom the world promises, where you merely learn how to hide your pain more skillfully, but the kind of freedom that allows your soul to breathe in the light without needing to run anymore. The world often teaches you that avoiding the truth will make your heart hurt less, that if you lock away the dark corners of your heart, they will slowly disappear. But my beloved child, what is buried deep in darkness does not die. It only grows silently, like a bitter root beneath the ground, until one day it begins to tighten around your soul, and you do not even understand why you are becoming heavier and heavier. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. As John 8:32 says, is not a promise reserved for a few especially strong people. It is an invitation for every soul willing to step out of its old hiding place and stand in the light. Freedom does not begin when you become perfect. It begins when you stop hiding from the truth. I know there are parts within your heart that even you are afraid to look at. There are memories you have tried to forget. There are hidden motives that make you feel ashamed. There are fears that have walked with you for so long that you began to think they were part of your personality. There are old wounds that still quietly ache beneath an ordinary smile. And my beloved child, I know you fear that the light will make everything visible. But listen carefully to me today. I do not shine light in order to humiliate you. I shine light in order to heal you. A physician must see the wound before beginning to treat it. If a person keeps covering an infection without ever allowing the light to touch it, the wound will continue spreading silently. In the same way, your soul cannot be truly free if it keeps wearing the garment of pretending to be strong. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history, it is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. I do not need you to perform the role of someone who is not in pain. I need you to be honest enough to say, Father, this is where I am weak. My light is not like the cold light of the world. The world often exposes mistakes in order to mock, condemn, and shame you. But my light is like dawn spreading over a field after a long winter night, gentle, warm, and carrying life. When the sun rises, it does not shout at the darkness or argue with it. It simply appears, and the darkness withdraws on its own. My beloved child, that is how I desire my light to touch your soul. There are souls who pray for freedom, but when I begin to shine my light into the dark corners, where they have grown accustomed to hiding, they turn their faces away. They think the light is hurting them, but in truth, what causes the pain is not the light. It is the resistance to the light that makes the soul weary. A room that has been closed for too long will feel dazzled when the window is opened. But it is that very stream of light that helps the room come alive again. Remember the rich young man who came to me. He wanted to know how to inherit eternal life. But when I touched the thing that held his heart, his attachment to possessions, he went away sorrowful, not because I wanted to take away his joy, but because I saw the cord that was binding his soul. My beloved child, I am doing the same with you in love. There are things you think are protecting you, yet they are actually imprisoning you. Perhaps it is the fear of being wounded that keeps you from daring to love fully. Perhaps it is the need to control everything because you are afraid of losing safety. Perhaps it is an old bitterness you keep as a layer of armor around your heart. Perhaps it is the habit of hiding your true emotions because you fear being seen in your weakness. Sometimes it is a very subtle pride that makes it difficult for you to admit when you are wrong. And sometimes it is a lingering shame that keeps you from daring to believe you are worthy of healing. My beloved child, I do not want you to be merely comfortable for a moment. I want you to be truly free. A bird born to fly cannot live fully if it remains forever in a cage simply because the cage has become familiar. In the same way, there are forms of darkness you have lived with for so long that you have mistaken them for home. But I am calling you to step out. Remember Zacchaeus, the tax collector whom everyone despised. When I entered his house, the light did not destroy him. It made him want to change. He willingly let go of what was wrong, and his heart became free. My beloved child, when my light touches your soul, its purpose is not to take away your joy, but to set you free from the things that are draining the life within you. Whoever conceals his sins does not prosper, but the one who confesses and renounces them finds mercy. As Proverbs 28:13 says, is not a threat. It is a doorway into freedom. I am not calling you to live exposed in shame. I am calling you to live truthfully in the light. So, today, my beloved child, do not be afraid of the truth anymore. Do not continue locking the doors of the places where I am gently knocking. Let my light enter every corner of your soul, even the places you once thought were too ugly to be loved. For it is precisely where you think you are most shameful that I desire to reveal my greatest mercy. And then you will discover something very beautiful. True freedom does not come when you become flawlessly perfect. True freedom comes when you no longer have to hide from the light. Then the chains begin to fall. Darkness loses its power, and your soul can finally rest in the love of the one who has known everything about you and still chose to remain. My beloved child, I have never been afraid of the truth about you. There is no hidden corner within your soul that could make me turn my face away. Before you knew how to name your pain, I had already seen it. Before you understood why your heart reacted the way it did, I already knew which wounds were lying deep beneath the surface. There are things you hide carefully from the eyes of others because you fear that if they saw how weak you truly are, they would leave you. And so, you have grown used to living behind masks, the mask of strength, of calmness, of I am fine. But my beloved child, before me, you do not need to become someone else in order to be loved. I saw everything long ago, the times you failed, the fears you did not dare to speak aloud, the thoughts you felt ashamed to face, the memories that make your heart ache in the middle of the night. And after seeing it all, I still chose to stay. The Lord searches the heart, As Jeremiah 17:10 says, "Not so that I may find a reason to condemn you. I search in order to heal what has been silently hurting you." My beloved child, true love does not turn away when it sees the truth. True love remains and begins restoration precisely in the place that is most wounded. There are souls who have lived in darkness for so long that they begin to believe that darkness is who they are. They call fear their nature. They call chains their identity. They look at old mistakes and think their lives will forever be defined by them. But my beloved child, I want you to hear this clearly today. You are not your wounds. You are not your past failures. You are not the fearful voice trying to pull you backward. You are my beloved child, created with light and called back into fullness of life. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation, as 2 Corinthians 5:17 says. It is not some distant idea, meant only for a few special people. It is the truth I am writing over your life. The old things are no longer an eternal prison. The memories may still remain, but they no longer have authority to rule your soul. My beloved child, when my light begins to shine into the deepest places within you, at first you may feel pain, not because the light is hurting you, but because your heart has grown so used to shrinking back in order to survive. A person who has lived for too long in a dark room will feel their eyes sting when dawn pours through the window. Yet that very light is what allows them to see everything clearly. In the same way, your soul needs time to learn again how to live in truth without fear. I know there are times when you want to turn away, when I touch the things you have tried to hide. There are parts within your heart that believe, if they are exposed, they will be crushed by condemnation. But my beloved child, I do not stand before you as a cold judge waiting only to pronounce a sentence. I stand before you as a father who sees his trembling child and opens his arms to embrace them. Remember the Samaritan woman at the well. I spoke the truth about her life, the broken relationships, the emptiness she had tried to fill. But I did not do so to humiliate her. I did it to open the way for healing. And that very woman, who once avoided the eyes of others, later ran to proclaim the light she had just encountered. My beloved child, when I shine light upon your life, my purpose is not to keep you in shame. My purpose is to set you free from what has held you in darkness for far too long. There are chains falling from your life that you have not yet fully recognized. Every time you dare to be honest with me, another layer of darkness loses its power. Every time you stop running from the truth, your soul becomes a little freer. And there will come a day when you look back at the things that once made you ashamed and no longer tremble, because you will realize that my light has already entered there. My beloved child, do not continue living as one who must always be on the defensive. I have not called you into a life of pretending. I have called you into the freedom of the light. A child who is truly loved does not need to constantly hide their wounds before their father. That child knows the Father's arms do not exist to condemn, but to lift them up. There is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ. As Romans 18:1 says, is the truth I want to place deeply within your soul today. What I bring into the light is no longer a sentence hanging over your head. It is an invitation to healing. I do not want you to spend your whole life afraid of being seen. I want you to live in the peace of one who knows that even when the truth is fully revealed, my love remains unchanged. So, today, my beloved child, stop running from the light. Let me enter every corner of your soul, even the places you once thought were too dark to be loved, for precisely where you feel weakest, I desire to reveal my tenderest mercy, and then you will discover this. When you truly see yourself in my light, you will no longer see a soul worthy of rejection. You will see a child being healed day by day in the arms of their Father, a soul that no longer has to live in hiding, but is gradually learning to rest in the everlasting love that has never left it. My beloved child, I do not want you to see repentance as a sentence suspended over your life. Repentance is not a doorway into endless shame. It is the road that brings your soul back home to the Father. There are people who are afraid to return to me because they think they will only encounter a reproach and a disappointed gaze. They imagine heaven will close its doors when it sees the stains of failure upon their lives. But, my beloved child, every time a soul sincerely returns, heaven's door does not close. It opens even wider with the joy of love. Remember the prodigal son who left his father's house to pursue the distant land of his own will. When everything collapsed, he returned with feet covered in the dust of failure, hoping only to become a servant in his father's house. But the father did not stand still, waiting for him to explain every mistake before forgiving him. He ran to him first. He embraced the child, who still carried the smell of wandering days. He placed a new robe upon him and opened a feast of rejoicing. My beloved child, that is how I see true repentance. Not as an opportunity to keep your head bowed longer in shame, but as the moment when love is poured out most powerfully. There will be joy in heaven over one sinner who repents, as Luke 15:7 says, is a revelation of my heart. Heaven does not rejoice when you live in self-condemnation. Heaven rejoices when you return. There are times when you think you must fix yourself perfectly before you dare come near to me. But my beloved child, if a wounded person had to heal completely before coming to the physician, they would never be healed at all. I want you to come even in your weakness, so that my grace itself may do the work of restoration within you. And today, I want you to understand a truth even deeper than forgiveness. I do not merely remove the burden of sin from you. I restore you. Forgiveness causes the chains to fall, but my restoration teaches your soul how to live in freedom again. I do not simply erase the old debt and then leave you to keep living as one who is ruined. I rebuild the places that have collapsed. I breathe life into the areas that have grown dry. I return the dignity that darkness once tried to steal from you. My beloved child, there are places within your heart that have lain for too long beneath the ashes of disappointment. There are dreams you once quietly buried because you thought there was no longer any hope for them to live again. There are doors within your soul that were locked after wounds cut too deeply. There are words others once planted in your heart that caused you to look at yourself with eyes full of contempt. And little by little, you began to believe that you were only the ruins of something that had once been beautiful. But my beloved child, I am the God who can cause the desert to bloom. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. As Joel 20:25 says, does not speak only of harvests in the field. It is my word over the years when your soul thought it had lost everything. I can take what darkness once used to make you collapse and turn it into the very place where my light is revealed most powerfully. Remember Peter, after he denied me 3 times, he thought everything had come to an end. But I did not only forgive him, I restored him. The very man who once trembled before a servant girl became the one who stood up and preached with power before the crowd. My beloved child, I do not merely want you to live as one whose sentence has been canceled. I want you to live as one who has been made new. There are relationships you think can no longer be healed. There are places within your heart that you believe have completely died because disappointment has lasted so long. But I am working in places your eyes have not yet seen. A seed that has remained beneath the soil for a long time may make people think it is dead. But in the right season, life still breaks forth from the place that seemed to hold only ashes. My beloved child, do not call what I am still touching the end. Do not bury hope simply because you have not yet seen immediate change. I am not limited by what human beings call too late. There are places where the world sees ruins, but I see the foundation for a new garden. He gives a crown of beauty instead of ashes, as Isaiah 61:3 says, is what I am doing in your life. I do not deny that there have been ashes. I know the days when you were broken. I know the nights when you thought your heart could never come alive again. But I will not let the story end there. So today, my beloved child, stop living as though you are only trying to survive after the breaking. Begin to believe that I truly can rebuild what has been shattered. Let the light of restoration enter every place you once locked away. Let the waters of repentance continue washing your soul clean from every lingering shame. And then, day by day, you will see the miracle of grace. The place that once wounded you most deeply will become the place that reflects my glory most clearly. Old wounds will no longer tell only the story of pain. They will tell the story of the one who healed you. The years that seemed lost will no longer be a sentence of condemnation, but a witness that my love can restore even the things you thought could never live again. My beloved child, I know there are nights when you are tired, not because of work or responsibilities, but because you have spent too long trying to hold together an image of yourself that is not true. You have become used to wearing the smile of someone who is still fine while your soul is trembling inside. You have become used to saying that you are strong when your heart only longs to rest. You have become used to playing the role of someone who has everything under control, because you are afraid that if the mask falls, others will see your fragility and turn away. But, my beloved child, I never created you to spend your whole life straining under such a burden. There are souls who slowly forget their true face because they have lived for too long inside roles created for survival. The role of the one who is not allowed to cry. The role of the one who must always be a support for everyone else. The role of the one who is not allowed to be weak. And then, day by day, they become exhausted without understanding why their hearts feel emptier and emptier. My beloved child, those masks may help you hide your wounds from the eyes of the world, but they also keep your soul from breathing freely in the light. I do not need you to become perfect before coming near to me. If perfection were the condition of love, no one would have the strength to remain in the light. What I desire from you is truth. Not truth that condemns you, but truth that opens the way for healing. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. As John 8:32 says, is not a promise for those who have never stumbled. It is a word for the souls who dare to stop running from the light. My beloved child, true freedom does not come from how skillfully You hide your darkness. True freedom comes when light enters the place you once feared most. And you realize that I am still there, still loving you, still not turning my face away from you. There are times when you think that if the whole truth were revealed, you would lose all love and worth. But remember this, I knew the entire truth about you before you ever learned how to hide it. And I still chose to love you with an everlasting love. I know there are times when you fear the truth will hurt you, but my beloved child, light does not wound your true self. It only pains the false things that have attached themselves to your soul. You are about to enter your divine future. Remember that this message does not end with you. People can use your breakthrough to get where they need to go. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, you can help this mission. By doing so, you are sowing into the awakening, deliverance, and restoration of souls who are still trapped in darkness. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." Every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and safety for your family. Now is your time, my child. Have faith, and as you do, watch God multiply what you let go of. A wound may ache for a moment when it is being cleansed, but that very cleansing saves it from deeper decay. I am touching your soul in the same way. There are things that need to be brought out of darkness so they can no longer silently control your life. Remember the woman who suffered from bleeding for 12 years. She lived in silence, shame, and isolation because of her condition. But on the day she stepped out of her hiding place and touched my garment, what she received was not the public humiliation she had long feared, but healing and the tender name I gave her, daughter. My beloved child, when you step into the light with an honest heart, I do not push you into shame. I call you closer. When you begin to live in truth, a very deep relief will slowly appear within your soul. You will stop fearing being exposed, because there will no longer be two lives to maintain. No longer one face for the world and another face for me. No longer the anxiety of always having to preserve a perfect image before others. My beloved child, a soul divided by pretending will always be wary. But a soul living in the light will begin to rest. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. As Matthew 5-8 says, does not mean that only those who have never made a mistake may come near to me. A pure heart is a heart that no longer wants to live in darkness. It is that chooses the light, even when the light requires it to face the truth. And it is precisely such souls that see me most clearly. I have seen many lives healed simply because they stopped running. There was a father who carried shame about his past in his heart for many years. He loved his family, yet he built walls of silence around himself because he feared that if the truth were revealed, everything would fall apart. He lived under the same roof with the people he loved, but his soul was lonely because he always had to maintain the image of being strong. Then, on a night full of tears, he knelt down and said to me, "Father, I cannot keep living two lives anymore." And I said to him, "Let the light come in." When he opened his heart with humility and love, what happened was not the destruction he had imagined. There were tears, there was pain. But healing also began to appear. Hearts that had grown distant became soft again. Truthful words were spoken for the first time, and that family began to live with one another in honesty instead of merely existing beside one another behind walls of silence. My beloved child, darkness always says that hiding is the way to survive. But the light shows you that only truth brings life. There are souls carrying deep weariness within them, not because they are doing too much, but because they have spent far too long trying to maintain an image of themselves before others that is not true. But I have not called you to be an actor on the stage of the world. I have called you to be a child in the Father's house. A child does not need to be perfect in order to be loved. A child does not need to constantly prove their worth in order to be held close. I only want you to step out of hiding so that the light can finally touch your entire soul. And then you will discover this wonder. My beloved child, when you no longer have to live in hiding, your soul will become much lighter. You will begin to breathe like someone finally set free from the heavy armor they have worn for far too long. And in that freedom, you will understand that the Father's true love was never meant for the mask. It was always meant for you. My beloved child, I know there are parts within your heart that you always try to cover carefully, like someone keeping a dark room locked and not daring to open the door because they fear the light will reveal everything they want to hide. You are afraid that if others see how fragile you truly are, if the layers of strength fall away, if your pain and weakness are touched, you will no longer be loved. So, you learn to wear many different faces before the world. You try to become someone who is always steady before others. You practice smiling as though nothing can wound you. Sometimes, even in prayer, you unconsciously try to preserve the image of someone who is strong enough. But my beloved child, I have never called you to live under such strain. A soul that must constantly hide itself will slowly become exhausted. Not because it lacks strength, but because it is using all its energy to maintain the masks. I see that weariness in you, the weariness of always having to appear as though you have everything under control, as though you are not hurting, not afraid, not in need of help. But my beloved child, you were not created to spend your whole life as an actor on the stage of the world. I do not need you to be perfect before me. I only want you to be real. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. As John 8:7-32 says, is not an invitation for you to step into shame. It is a call for you to step into freedom. My truth does not come to expose you the way the world does, where mistakes are brought out to be mocked or condemned. My light comes to remove the chains from your soul. There are people who think they will be safer if they continue hiding their darkness. But my beloved child, what is hidden in the night does not disappear. It only grows silently and begins to govern your life from within. I know there are times when you think the truth will hurt you, but listen carefully to me today. The truth does not destroy your true self. It only pains the false things that have clung to your soul for far too long. When a wound is cleansed, at first it may ache, but that very pain saves it from a deeper infection. I am doing the same with your soul. There are memories that need to be brought into the light. There are fears that need to be named for what they are. There are tears that need to flow instead of remaining locked away in silence. My beloved child, when my light begins to touch the place you have avoided most, you will gradually realize that I am still there. I do not abandon you when the truth is revealed. I do not turn my face away when the mask falls. On the contrary, it is precisely when you stop pretending to be strong, that my arms can truly touch the deepest places of your soul. Remember Nathanael when he first came to me. I looked at him and said, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit." My beloved child, I love honesty in the soul more than any outward appearance of religious devotion. A sincere heart, even while still weak, is closer to heaven than a soul that appears perfect, but lives behind a false covering. When you learn to live in truth, you will stop fearing being exposed. The one who truly walks in the light no longer has to divide their soul into many pieces, no longer one face for the world and another face for me, no longer having to constantly measure what to say in order to protect an image, no longer fearing that if others know the truth, everything will collapse. My beloved child, that is the relief of true freedom, when you no longer have to live in hiding. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. As Matthew 5:8 says, a pure heart is not a heart that has never stumbled. It is a heart that no longer wants to remain in darkness. It is a soul willing to step into the light, even while its eyes still tremble with fear. And it is those souls that will begin to see me more clearly day by day. I have seen many lives healed when they stopped running. There was a father who carried shame about his past for many years. He loved his family, but he built walls of silence around himself because he believed that if the truth were revealed, everything would fall apart. He lived under the same roof with them, yet his soul was lonely because he had to constantly maintain an image of strength before everyone. Then, on a night full of tears, he knelt down and said to me, "Father, I cannot continue living two lives anymore." And I said to him, "Let the light come in." When he opened his heart to his family with humility and honesty, what happened was not the destruction he had feared. There were tears. There was pain, but healing also began to sprout. Hearts that had grown distant became tender again. Words that had never been spoken were finally released. And for the first time, that family truly began to live together in the light, instead of merely existing beside one another amid silent distance. Do you see, my beloved child, darkness always makes you believe that hiding is the way to survive. But the light shows you that truth itself is what brings life. There are souls who carry a very deep weariness within them, not because they are doing too much, but because they have spent far too long trying to maintain an image of themselves that is not true. But I have not called you to be an actor on the stage of the world. I have called you to be a child in the Father's house. A child does not need to be perfect in order to be loved. A child does not need to constantly prove that they are worthy in order to be held. I only want you to stop hiding from the light, so that at last your soul can rest in the love that has never left it. My beloved child, I know there are seasons when you are so tired that you can no longer distinguish between true peace and the numbness of a soul that has been overwhelmed for too long. There are days when you are so busy that you can no longer clearly hear your own heart. You run from one responsibility to another, trying to keep everything stable, trying to be strong for everyone, and little by little, you forget what it feels like to sit still in my presence. Sometimes you have worn the familiar smile on your lips for so long that even you no longer know where your heart is truly hurting. But my beloved child, I do not blame you for that. I understand the weariness of the human soul in a world that constantly pressures people to become more enough, stronger, faster, and more perfect. So today, I am calling you back, not back to dry rituals that make your soul even heavier. Not back to a life of endless striving, just to be accepted. I am calling you back to the true light, the place where you no longer need to play the role of the strong one, where you are allowed to breathe, allowed to be honest, and allowed to rest in the love of your Father. My light is not like the cold light of the world. The world often shines upon mistakes in order to condemn, exposes in order to shame, and recalls the past in order to keep you trapped in guilt. But my light is like dawn pouring into a room that has been closed for too long, gentle, yet strong enough to awaken life. When I shine into the dark corners of your heart, I do not do it to crush you. I only want to bring out of darkness the things that have been silently controlling your soul, without you even realizing it. There are things you have grown used to calling just my personality, but my beloved child, many times that is not the true self I created. It is only a garment sewn from old wounds. There are angry reactions that were actually born from pain that has not yet been healed. There are needs to always be recognized that come from a heart that once felt it was not valuable enough. There are fears of abandonment that cause you either to cling too tightly or to close yourself off too much. And you have mistaken those things for your nature. But I did not create you to live forever beneath the weight of those invisible chains. Remember the paralyzed man who lay by the pool of Bethesda for 38 years. He had lived in his old condition for so long that he had almost begun to see it as his life. But when I drew near, I did not ask only about his legs. I asked, "Do you want to be made well, my beloved child?" I am asking your soul the same question today, not because I do not know the answer, but because some people have grown so accustomed to living in darkness that they even fear the light that comes to heal them. I do not want you to live like someone asleep in the middle of the day. There are souls who still walk, still smile, still work, yet deep within, they are asleep inside old habits, old reactions, and old masks. My beloved child, I want to awaken your soul. I want the eyes within you to open again, so that you may see the world with a different gaze. I want you to stop looking at others only through their mistakes. There are people who act thorny because their hearts have never been loved in the right way. There are people who are bitter because they are carrying wounds no one can see. When you learn to see through my eyes, mercy will become greater than judgment within you. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful, as Luke 6:36 says, is not a call for you to ignore truth. It is an invitation for you to look at people more deeply than the surface of their behavior. My beloved child, I also want you to learn how to hear my voice amid the many noises of the world. There are too many voices pulling at your soul each day. The voice of fear, of comparison, of pressure, of expectations that never cease. If you do not pause in my presence, you will begin to mistake noise for truth. But my voice does not come to make you more confused. My voice leads your soul into peace. Remember Mary sitting at my feet, while Martha was busy with many things. Martha was not wrong to serve, but her heart became troubled, because she forgot that the most important thing was to remain near me. My beloved child, I know you have responsibilities, work, and burdens of your own. But do not let your soul starve simply because you are too busy keeping everything running. I am calling you to become one who carries true light, not the light of self-exaltation that makes you want to be noticed above others, not the light of a religious appearance, while the heart remains far from love. I want your life to reflect the light of truth, mercy, and humility. A lamp does not need to shout loudly to prove that it is shining. It simply lights the way for those walking in darkness. I want you to be the same. There are souls who will find hope simply because they see in you a peace that does not belong to this world. There are people who will feel healed simply because when they are near you, they no longer feel judged. My beloved child, I am not calling you to become perfect in the eyes of the world. I am calling you to become real before me. And when you live truthfully in that light, your soul will gradually awaken from every old mist. You will no longer have to strain to become something else. You will begin to live as a beloved child in the Father's house, lighter, freer, and more filled with light day by day.